our guest this week is a doctor that I've really grown to appreciate in a big way. Her name is Dr. Kristin Hieshetter. Dr. Hieshetter, welcome to our little call.
Hi, thank you so much for your kind words. I've been a glutathione person for many years now, because when I travel and I teach all over the world, I teach longevity protocols. We don't just want to live a long life. We want a quality attached to that long life, right? We don't want to just be old people. We want to be old people that can still golf, pick up the grandkids, take a walk along the block, right? All of these things are crucially important. So I actually have here a sealed glutathione lozenge that I've used in practice for years. I won't tell you the brand. I've flipped it around so we can't see that. But what's critically important is we were always told by the gurus of this particular company, it is sublingual. You put it between your cheek and your gum line, or you put it under your tongue and let it dissolve. Do not swallow it, right? The stomach acid will degrade it. So we used this for a long time. What we noticed was when the person had it in their mouth for a few seconds, they would feel different, but we weren't sure if it was a placebo effect. We had no way to measure it. And then comes along the lipohydrolyzed or the lipolyzed glutathione, right? It's bound to a fat molecule. So they say, oh, that'll pass through into your small intestine, get absorbed there. It doesn't. So I knew not to bite on that one. And when I met Steve after teaching at this medical conference, and we sat down for just a few brief minutes, and he said nanotechnology, I about fell out of my chair. And the reason for that is my husband is a chemical engineer with a specialty in human health and safety and environmental safety. So we are chemistry nerds in my house. And hearing someone say nanotechnology, I understood that I'm now sitting knee to knee with someone who understands how to get things into the cells, right? So Steve and I started chatting back and forth, and we maybe had 10 minutes before he had to zoom out to his flight. But in that brief time, we covered several key phrases, and I knew that this was going to be a good thing for my patients clinically. I knew that this was a powerful message to share, and I knew that we were going to be able to do some really beautiful things clinically, combining the glutathione with what I already do in practice. I was very excited and very much on board.
Glutathione, and that's what I'm going to have her talk about in a minute. She's going to talk about this free radical that's generated. And if you'll all remember, anybody who's watched me in our little weekly presentation, you know that all other antioxidants are monofocused. They can only deal with one type of free radical, but they can't deal with any of the other types. Glutathione, on the other hand, is not monofocused and can sequester and neutralize any type of free radical, regardless of its source structure or its chemical makeup. She's going to talk about a particular free radical that is very insidious, and she'll tell you why it's so insidious. But see, I'm learning right with you guys. Now, once again, I'm going to put our disclaimer right here. We do not treat, prevent, cure any disease or diagnose any disease. What she's talking about is science not relating so much to our product, but relating to glutathione itself. All we do is we effectively and efficiently deliver glutathione, okay? We have a Federal Expressway. Remember when we had to send everything snail mail, and then Federal Express came along and said, when it absolutely positively has to be delivered overnight and be there by 10:30 in the morning, only one company can do that, Federal Express. Well, that's what we are. We are Federal Express delivery of glutathione. Now, with that, I'm going to let you go on and tell us about see, I never knew there was a relation between free radicals and EMF. EMF stands for electromagnetic, I believe, electromagnetic frequencies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And who knew that that could generate in us, holding our cell phones, could generate free radicals? You know, we think of it electromechanical, dealing with an electrical brain, but it's actually causing, it's generating a certain type of free radical. Tell us about that, Kristin.
Absolutely. So the molecule we're going to discuss is nitric, N-I-T-R-I-C, nitric oxide. It was the molecule of the year in 1992. And in the body, it helps regulate blood vessel tone, it helps with infection control, and it helps with new blood vessel growth. So it's a good molecule to speak of, as long as it stays under control. A lot of things in the body are good for us, but if they got out of control, if they exceed a threshold, they become a problem. And so In 1998, nitric oxide won the Nobel Prize because they discovered all the great things it could do when it existed in the body in a perfect concentration. Nitric oxide, as it floats through your bloodstream, binds itself to glutathione, it binds itself to heme, and it binds itself to other proteins so that it can act appropriately the way it's supposed to. But this is where EMF is the major concern. I had mentioned a little bit earlier a little hole in the cell called a voltage-gated calcium ion channel. And as I had said, calcium in the right concentration is good for us. When too much goes inside of the cell, it becomes a free radical. When the voltage-gated calcium ion channel gets flipped open uncontrollably, now we've got a real problem. Situations where that calcium ion channel flips open and gets out of control is if you get punched in the head, if you play football and get a concussion, now your voltage-gated calcium ion channels are flipped open, you're getting free radical damage. But the other critical factor is cellular radiation. It flips open the voltage-gated calcium ion channel, so cellular radiation, Wi-Fi, and EMF. And the scary thing is, it's not just humans that this affects. Plants have voltage-gated calcium ion channels. So my kids did this as a science experiment. I challenge everybody listening right now to try to grow a plant from a seed within 12 feet of their Wi-Fi routers in their homes. My kids haven't been able to do it. We do this every year since my oldest, who's now a 7th grader, was a 1st grader. You cannot get them to grow. But what happens is when the calcium rushes into the cells, now nitric oxide can make its way in as well. We don't ever want nitric oxide inside the cell. It does its job outside of the cell. So when nitric oxide gets into the cell, it combines with an enzyme called superoxide dismutase. Science geeks will abbreviate that SOD. And when nitric oxide combines with superoxide dismutase, it forms the single most egregious free radical that we know of to date. It's called peroxynitrite. It is a reactive nitrogen species. So to put this in perspective with the traditional free radicals that we think of, which are reactive oxygen species, a reactive nitrogen species can produce more free radicals called carbonyl free radicals. It lives 1 billion times longer than a reactive oxygen species. It can break DNA bonds. And because it lives 1 billion times longer, this terrible guy can travel between your cells. It can damage your DNA. This reactive nitrogen species is the scariest thing. And where is the nitric oxide normally found? It's found where it's supposed to be, floating along in your blood, bound to glutathione. So when I say to you that everybody needs to be on this, I'm not getting paid to be here to tell you this. Like, this is data. I am a science person. I am a research person. And I know that this delivery mechanism is like nothing we have ever seen in its capacity to reduce the risk of this peroxynitrite free radical. Steve, what do you got? I see.
That's something you mentioned. You said to me the other day that only glutathione can sequester this particular free radical. No other antioxidant can touch it.
Correct.
Tell us how you and your husband, how long have you been on Swish and our skin spray? I know you've been using that, and not only for yourself, but also in your practice. And you said your husband was using it.
As a chiropractor, I treat a lot of patients every day, and I don't farm out my therapies. I do everything myself because I need to know what's happening with my patients. So on an average day, I walk 2 miles just in my office. And before work, I will jog between 5 and 7 miles 4 days a week. You know, when you are looking at what I push my body to do every day, it takes a lot out of you. And I have found that using this particular Swish and the spray, number one, my recovery time after a workout has really, really gotten better. I would say, and I do a lot of anti-aging supplements. I do a lot of low-level laser for muscle care and self-care. But using this stuff, I almost feel like I did when I was 20, where I don't really have to think about, oh, don't forget to take your vitamins. Don't forget to get your laser. Better schedule that massage every 2 weeks. I've gone into autopilot, which is probably not good, but I find myself less aware of physical stuff that's happening because I'm able to recover better. My husband is a phenomenal athlete. He's a swimmer, he's a surfer, he's a downhill skier. He was one of the fastest guys in the state in high school for middle distance running and track. And with him using it, his recovery time with workouts has just been phenomenal. He's sleeping a lot better. He's at high risk for multiple sclerosis because his dad passed away from it. And so we've got him doing a protocol 3 times a day, and we see improvement in energy, better muscle recovery time. And he's a guy on the go too. I mean, he's, in addition to working, he's working out, he's coaching the kids' basketball team, he's running the kids to their practices. He remodels every room in the house that needs help. You know, we don't have a lawn person. He takes care of our entire home, and he has just found that he's got a new lease on life. It's like turning back the clock 12 to 15 years.
Wow. Yeah.
So we've had a wonderful opportunity to enhance what we're doing for our patients. And that's why this whole project is very near and dear to my heart. If we can help people get the results they're looking for in a faster time frame and enhance quality of life, I am 3,000% on board.
Once again, thank you. I think everybody here understands why I got so excited the first time I heard you. And then when my son's back was all better in 2 weeks instead of 4 weeks, needless to say, as a dad, that just put me through the atmosphere. And I thank you for that, Kristin.